Yeah, and then eventually you got moved to NXT. I enjoyed watching you every Tuesday,
Thank you.
interviewing so many people. You're welcome, so many people. That had to have been a thrill for you to get that call up because it's just an amazing feeling working for one of the big brands in WWE.
Well, I tell you, like, I always felt comfortable doing television. Starting an Impact and doing television right out of the gates, out of college, that was kind of what I've learned from the beginning was interviewing, how to be a great backstage interviewer and how to kind of mediate those conversations. That's where I feel most comfortable. So whenever I was able to make the jump over to NXT, I just felt at home. I really did because I knew what it was. I knew what the backstage interviews felt like. I know what those conversations are like and how they run. And so I loved making that jump to NXT from the offices in Connecticut.
To you, Mackenzie, what makes a good interviewer?
I really think you need to listen. There's several things. I guess I should revert and say there's several things that makes a good interviewer. But for me, it's really listening to what your guest is having to say. I think a lot of the times people get caught up in what's on a piece of paper or what they've already have in their mind to say. And if a conversation goes one way and you're not able to follow it because you're so stuck on something else that you want to ask, that's when there's missing pieces of the puzzle. You know what I mean? That's where
Hmm.
those conversations sometimes magic could be made if you just follow what your guest is saying. So for me on air with NXT, that was always what I wanted to do is, yes, we all know there is some kind of script, there is some kind of idea of where you want to go with the conversation. But for me, it was always sometimes we would ad lib on the fly and things would be said and then I would just play off of people. That's kind of how you have to be able to respond in real time. And I really think for me, something that set me apart in my career was my nonverbal. It's how do you respond in an interview without saying anything at all? Because sometimes as an interviewer, you have 5 seconds to ask, what are your thoughts? How are you feeling? What were you expecting out of this match or whatever? But it's the response. It's that nonverbal emotion that you're showing through your face that allows a fan to watch without the noise, without the volume on, and be able to connect to you on another level.
Yeah, I mean, just watching some of your interviews that you've done with the likes of Grayson Waller, Wes Lee, Toxic Attraction. I mean, that's really good chemistry. I mean, and the fact that your ad libbing skills were incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. What have been some of your favorite interviews that you've done?
You mentioned Toxic Attraction. I loved working with Mandy and Gigi and JC. We had so much fun. And I know at one point people were joking two different sides. They were like, well, Mckenzie and Mandy, it looks like they're going to actually have a fight. And then on the second side, it was like Mckenzie could be part of Toxic Attraction. Like it just kind of it felt right. But I loved working with those girls. We had so much fun together on screen because we can bounce off of each other. You mentioned Grayson Waller. I loved working with Grayson because it was natural. So we would have an idea of what we'd want to go with, what we want to say. But then when the red light would come on, how we would play off of each other was all just that was how we were as people. And so we really, I feel like, fueled each other's fire there. And the chemistry, like you said, was great. And of course, Wesley, like I still talk to Wes today. He actually messaged me, I want to say a couple weeks ago. And ironically, in his locker was the last interview that we did together. It was my last ever interview in WWE. And it was so strange because I don't know. I mean, that was nearly a year ago. And so I'm like, why is that still in your locker? Number one, like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was just a very interesting day. It was an interesting conversation that he sent me. That I found this in my locker just thinking about you. And we still chat as friends because we are friends. And so what you were seeing in that dynamic that you were seeing on camera was just true chemistry and just our friendship coming to life.
Professional wrestling is such a brotherhood and sisterhood. You know, you make all these different friends over the course of your time there, and then when things unfortunately happen, you know, you get released. I mean, that had to have been hard, you know, when you got released from WWE.
Yeah, you know, it was. Furthermore on that, like my husband still works for NXT with
Mm-hmm.
Joseph. And
Mm-hmm.
so we had came up with kind of a routine of what we do on Tuesdays. We get up, we get ready, we'd go to work, I'd get in makeup. Like there was a kind of a routine that we came up with, and comfortability factor of being the voices of NXT, me being backstage, him being out ringside. And so that was kind of a shift. That was a really strong dynamic shift in our lives personally and professionally. But I also like to say, in your time that you are working with whatever company it is a brotherhood and sisterhood. But at the same time, you know your true friendships with people after something like a release happens, because you are able to really, you still talk to him. Like I said, I still talk to Wes, I still talk to Chelsea Green, I still talk to Sean, LA Knight. Like there, you still have those true friendships that are forever friendships.
Mm-hmm.
You really get to find out who people are outside of professional life when something like this happens, like a release.
Yeah. Did you and Vic meet at NXT?
We met in WWE. It wasn't NXT. He was calling Raw at the time, and I was still in the office in Connecticut. And so we met backstage, and I knew there was something different about him. I didn't know what it was. And he was missing meetings to try to talk to me, and I didn't know that. And then a month or about a week later, he DM'd me on social media, and then we went on our first date a month later, and then the rest was history. We were together basically every week, every weekend after that. And so we had a really awesome experience to meet each other in WWE and then be able to work in the same role in the same company, and then obviously get married. And so yeah, it's just, yeah, we had a great time there together.
Yeah, I mean, you were just really good doing what you do, and I hope someday down the road they bring you back because you were incredible.
Thank
Did you?
you.
You're welcome.